understandably, whenever we do one of these exotic ideas videos, we get a lot of suggestions. I ask for them, obviously, but you know, some people just throw a bunch of suggestions in there. We get some people who like put out like a bunch of them all at once, and we get some people who only like will spend some time on one or two. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like, I love the suggestions that come in. Like, creativity in the community is absolutely awesome. Destiny is definitely a place for creativity. Like that, this is just the breeding ground for creativity. Destiny is just the place, right? But some of your ideas are absolute dog shit. I wanted to give the spotlight to some of the best what the fuck exotics I have seen suggested in my comment section. I'm gonna do everyone a favor and scrub out the names so you don't have to embarrass anybody. But today we're going to start ourselves off with Darksun Gwendolyn with the idea of a shotgun with wolf pack rounds. Now, I don't need to explain to you how shit of an idea this is, because this one is obviously a joke. So I went ahead and created it here. This is the wolf pup. This is a small version of the Gallarhorn. So obviously, as you can see here, it's a very flavorful looking shotgun here. And obviously it's going to be a high impact shotgun, because why the hell not? And the exotic perk is called wolf pack rounds. Of course. It's not a slug shotgun, which would make this somewhat viable in terms of maybe making something somewhat reasonable. No, this fires a good old-fashioned spread, so each one of those individual shots will split off into sub-munitions of shotgun shots, which of course track. These don't have any necessarily damage fall off, so if you were to hit somebody from, you know, maximum range, this would kill somebody because of the tracking. I'm sure a lot of people are scratching their heads on this, but you know, frankly, this is one of the least of the offenders. Now, obviously this is a joke, but sometimes I see stuff like this, which is a stasis pulse rifle that fires in slow bursts. Now that might seem like, okay, you're talking about like a stasis pulse rifle that's like really slow and heavy and, you know, take a little bit of time. It's no, this is just a pulse rifle that fires stasis damage. Excuse me? What the fuck? Like, okay, so we've got the Cryo Synthesia, right? Like that's a well-established weapon, but what the fuck? Like, how do you sit down and say to yourself seriously, hey, you know what? Fuck everybody else. Fuck everybody else who plays this game. This is the me channel now. This is now the I'm gonna make sure everybody else is in a constant state of hell whenever they're playing this game. So to be fair to this idea, the Cryo Synthesia came out far after this idea was suggested, so this person's actually not too far off in terms of what their actual like rest of the perk does. They only have one perk here, which is that it fires stasis crystals which slow targets, and then when you get a kill with it, like multi-kill clip, you can infuse the next burst with a freezing shot, which is just like the Cryo Synthesia, except for the fact that the regular damage doesn't slow people. If this was special ammo, this would still be freaking stupid. Could you imagine a hit scan weapon? Can you imagine a hit scan weapon that slows targets as soon as you shoot them? If they're out of position, even in the slightest, they're fucked. There is nothing you can do that can counter this thing. This is a pulse rifle, so it's got ranges that can hit up to ridiculously far places. It's not going to be terrible in close range because, oh ho, somebody comes rushing you with the shotgun to try to counter the stasis BS you're throwing at them, and whoopsie doopsie, they're slowed. They can't do anything. Not to mention, oh, I'm gonna have a mental breakdown. Not to mention, if you were to fire this at a super, if there's literally any team shot whatsoever, fuck, even if there isn't team shot, the person is probably dead. They're just dead. So of course I went ahead and made this here. This is the Iceberg. This is a stasis pulse rifle. It's got a very low rate of fire damage archetype, right? Because we want to make sure that this deals the maximum TTK at the farthest of ranges, and it deals stasis damage to targets, and after a kill, you can reload it, and it will instantly freeze a target. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. Let's just keep rolling through the list here. Now, this is somebody's legitimate attempt, and this is what scares me the most. This is what scares me the most. I get it when somebody puts an exotic idea that's supposed to be a joke, like the Wolfpack Ground Shotgun. That's obviously meant to be a joke, but sometimes people put suggestions like this in there and they mean it with 100% seriousness. And I don't know if it's that they just don't play the game at all. They just want to throw out their idea. Because, like, let's be honest, everybody wants to feel powerful, but you gotta think about literally everybody else who's not using this thing. Okay, so of course I've made this one too. This is the Akamkaras Whisper. It's a shotgun, of course. Let's just make it frickin' another Fellwinter's Lie archetype, because I'm sure everybody loves those. The exotic perk is that this weapon shoots flames that seek and burn enemies. Enemies killed by the flames turn into puddles of molten lava. The molten lava deals constant damage to enemies. So effectively what we've got here is we've got heat-seeking rounds on a shotgun, which sounds perfectly balanced to me. And then when you actually get a kill, it essentially summons a sunspot. Why not? Let's just summon a sunspot anyway. I mean, let's just reuse some of those assets. And for the trait, oh boy, the trait. Enemies take more damage to the lava the longer they stand in it. So get this, like, ignoring the obviously broken PvP side of things, of the literal idea of a heat-seeking shotgun round that fires damage over time, let's ignore that for a minute. Let's talk about this in terms of PvE. In terms of PvE, the first part of this perk doesn't actually sound that bad because, you know, obviously it's not something you have to be super accurate with. It can give you a decent bump of damage, but the fact that it deals more damage to something the longer that they stand in it means that you could effectively just set one of these things out, get a kill, and now you've completely crowd controlled the entire whatever it is that's in front of you. Even if it's something big, you'd have to make sure that this doesn't actually deal ridiculous amounts. I try, guys, I really try to salvage some ideas as they come through. I give them the best chance possible, and sometimes I get shit from people who are saying, how dare you change this idea? How dare you modify the idea of the original creator? And this is why. So I get it. I love the ideas. That come in, but please just give it like 2 thoughts before you post it. Like, consider, before you make a comment, before you comment one of the exotic ideas, consider how it would affect PvP, right? Because that's super important to the game. If you've got something that's ridiculously balanced in PvE, it probably is ridiculously broken in PvP, and vice versa, right? Consider both PvP and PvE, and consider if it makes sense to use over other exotics, or if it's understandable for somebody who's actually either picking up the thing or using it against somebody or trying to counter that thing, right? Prime example. This is the Hobbs method. I had to go to a special place in order not to lose my temper on that. I've already lost my temper. This is a Titan chest plate that changes your critical hit spot from your head to your stomach. Getting shot in the head increases movement speed for a short duration. Now, on face value, this is sort of like it just moves the critical spot from one spot to the other. Some people in the comments, this is what kills me. Some people in the comments were saying that this would be too weak, that they were saying like, oh, it's a massive crit spot. It would just be really easy to actually kill the person because it's not that hard to hit. No. You don't understand. Every other person in the game, in PvP, let's just look at this in terms of PvP. And in PvE, this is basically useless, right? This is just a complete throwaway. But for PvP, imagine head glitching with this exotic. You are basically removing the ability for you to be crit if you were to head glitch with this. Not to mention, when they do try to counter you, they don't know that you have this exotic on. They can't tell your stomach. They can't see your stomach. And the second thing, you get a freaking movement speed buff. You get a movement speed buff for somebody doing the right thing. Like, what the hell? Guys, I love the ideas, but come on. Just think 2 steps ahead. So of course I went ahead and made it here. Obviously this is just sort of like it's just a Vex chest plate, right? This is the Hobbs method. So as you can see, it changes the crit spot from the head to the stomach. And of course, getting shot in the head will increase movement speed for some time. I'm not really sure why it does that, but it does that. And let's move on to an actually really solid idea from Darth Nader. This is going to be today's featured exotic. I know you're thinking to yourself, I don't know if I want to be featured in today's exotic idea. Misum, you seem a little angry. Misum, I'm concerned about you. You know what? That's fair. Okay, I'm gonna get real for you with you for a second here, okay? I've had to work double time over this last week because I'm going away next week, so the 24th to the 28th, on a little bit of a family vacation. I've had to work my ass off to try to make sure that I essentially get double uploads done for next week in order to stay on top of things. So I'm a little thin, all right? I'm more than just a little bit thin. And some of the ideas that I've seen over the times I've been doing these, I have to go to a special place to file them away so I don't lose my mind. I get it. A lot, like, you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But just take a look at it logically before you press that send button. Just consider. Just think about it. Is this some stupid shit? Is this the stupidest shit I've ever seen? Or is this a legitimately good idea? Like, just give it 2 seconds. All right? Okay. Darth Nader has an idea for a rocket launcher called the Red Jack's Creation. This is a max velocity cluster bomb rocket that the detonation mines, the explosive mines that pop out, essentially become little trip mines. They become little proximity bombs that if somebody were to come in and step on, they would die. Now, this isn't the most fleshed out idea, but this is at least interesting. This is a very interesting idea. I'm not sure how well this would compete with something like the Anarchy, because obviously they're both kind of like traps, as it were. Obviously you can get sticky grenades on grenade launchers, so it's sort of like if you were to fire 6 of them all off at once. But I think this would be a great idea for some crowd control in PvE. You could set these up in an area, and then as soon as things came through, it would annihilate them. Not to mention in PvP, this could be a great way to just outright deny a choke point or deny a zone capture. It's a really solid idea. Thank you, Darth Nader. Thank you. I appreciate, in the sea of disbelief that I come into when I see these exotic ideas, there's little gems like these that some of you put out. And to be fair, there's a lot of competition with these exotic ideas. There really is. Like, sometimes I'll see like a handful of exotics that are like really cool, and I just have to pick off of the list of really solid ideas which one I think is the best. This one was pretty cool. This one was really awesome. Thank you for the continued support in these videos. I'm sorry I lost my mind. I'm sorry I lost my temper. I'm better now. I'm better, and I'm a better man for it. You know, I got that out of my system. We've done like 11 or so of these exotic ideas, so I'm better for it. Hope you enjoyed. For the sake of my sanity, please consider subscribing. It does help us out a lot. Bless your faces, and deuces.